921 here, Big 550 KTRS. Boy, that was good for the soul right there. That little music, the house band we had today. Joining us now is Tony West. Tony, you are a film director, and this weekend is the St. Louis Filmmakers Showcase. It's the 15th annual, and it's a part of Cinema St. Louis and their film festival. I guess this is sort of the halfway through the season festival in a sense?
Yes, it's almost like I almost see it as, I don't want to say it's a tune-up festival for their international festival, but
right.
A lot of people go to the festival in November.
Sure.
And a lot of people go to this festival too, but if you do well in this festival, you could also be in that one.
There are so many, and I need to talk right into the microphone.
Okay, sorry about that.
And there are so many films that are being submitted. I'm sure St. Louis Cinema would tell you that we needed a second one for up-and-coming filmmakers and different films and all that type of stuff. You're here because you wrote and directed and produced a movie called The Safe Side of the Fence, which is going to air at this film festival. First, 1 p.m. on Sunday. Tell us about the movie.
The film is about nuclear workers that worked at Mallinckrodt downtown here in St. Louis. Essentially, it starts with the United States is trying to figure out how to make an atomic weapon during World War II.
Right.
And before they can do that, they need to figure out how to control a self-sustained chain reaction and figure out how to do that. And they were going to do that test in Chicago. And they needed tons of refined uranium to do that test. And they went to a couple of different chemical companies around the country, and they were turned down. People felt like that was a dangerous job and didn't really want to take that job on. And Mallinckrodt Chemical Works here in St. Louis decided to take that job on, and they refined that uranium, and that went to Chicago, and they were able to do this self-sustained chain reaction and then build a bomb. And
so the story is what happened to those workers?
Yeah, the story basically is after those workers completed that work, they became some of the most contaminated workers in the history of the nuclear industry.
Right. Why has it taken 60 some odd years to tell this story?
That's a very good question. I think a story like this is, a lot of people may feel like, well, I'm not a nuclear worker. I don't have to really worry about it. It's not really an issue that really affects me. But when you see the film, there's a lot of people in the film that aren't nuclear workers either. And the material finds its way to those people.
How did you get interested in this?
I got interested in it because I ended up meeting an investigative reporter named Carl Stelzer, who had done a story in Venice about contamination in a Dow chemical plant, former Dow chemical plant over there. Started looking at that, and then I was just curious, well, how did this material get over here? What were they doing? And they were subcontractors for Mallinckrodt, and then I started looking at Mallinckrodt, and the St. Louis side of it, it was just a huge story on this side too. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to cover all these different stories. I mean, there's been some great journalism on this topic over the years. I'm not like the guy that's like, look at this, I'm discovering.
Right.
The Post-Dispatch in '89 did an amazing a series on this, and in stories about like Weldon, that some people know about Weldon, some people know about Westlake landfill, where materials in that landfill right now. Some people know about Coldwater Creek. Some people know about Venice. And what I wanted to do was connect the dots of all of these sites. They're all connected.
Right.
And and tell the story in the sense of, when you talk about workers, I think that it starts with workers because they're on the front lines. And what you see in the film is basically people from the very beginning not really doing their due diligence to protect these workers.
Yeah.
And if you don't protect workers, you don't protect the public.
Tony West, our guest, he's director of his movie, The Safe Side of the Fence, Sunday at the Tivoli, 1 p.m. Tickets are going fast, correct?
Tickets are going fast. There's a lot of excitement about the film. There was a lot of buzz about this film as you were making it. There's a lot of buzz about the film as I was making it because Coldwater Creek, there's a Facebook group, Coldwater Creek. There's a lot of people are interested in the material that went into that creek that flows through North County. There's a lot of people that are interested in the waste that's in the Westlake landfill.
Right.
And there's a lot of family members that are concerned about their loved ones that work down at Mallinckrodt. And I don't want people to think that this is just a Mallinckrodt issue, because there's a compensation program that the government set up. I'm going to try to get the name right. This is Energy Employees Occupational Illness Compensation Program Act. I don't know.
Close enough.
Came up with the name. I think I nailed it. But essentially, that program is set up to compensate workers who worked with these materials.
How many workers are still around from the 1940s?
Unfortunately, not too many. But I was able to talk to some people. And the other thing I wanted to compare in this film is how things were done with workers in the 40s and how things are done now, and have we learned from those problems that we had back then.
Right.
And we haven't really gone as far as
we would like to think we did.
We would like to think we've gone.
How much of, because you mentioned the Westlake landfill, that is a nuclear waste site. That ultimate toxic stuff was ultimately found its way out in Earth City. Now it's inside a garbage dump that's on fire. Yeah. How much of your film goes into that current day situation?
Quite a bit. Essentially, it basically describes how that waste got there, the origin of that waste,
right,
how it made its way there, and that situation out there is a complicated situation. Once waste is dumped in an area like that, in a landfill, it gets mixed all in the garbage. Once it's dumped anywhere, it's very hard to clean up.
Right. And
when you watch the film, you're going to see how difficult it is just to clean up an area where there isn't any trash, where they have open access to try to dig it up. And
so, not to mention inside a trash dump, inside a burning trash dump.
Right. There's a fire in one part of the landfill that the concern is that fire is going to reach the waste. And then,
but they don't even know where the waste is. It's all sort of mixed up together.
Yes.
And the other question, you mentioned Weldon Springs. That same stuff went to Weldon Springs as well, but they capped Weldon Springs.
Yeah. See, basically Weldon Spring, just, I guess, maybe 2 miles down from that site, there was a quarry down there. And the Army owned that property before the Fees Material Plant was built out there. And the Army had been disposing of TNT and DNT, just throwing barrels down into this quarry. And this quarry sits really close to the well field, which provides a lot of people in St. Charles with their drinking water. So when the Fees Material Plant came out there, good enough for the Army, good enough for us, they started dumping radioactive material, all their waste, down into that quarry also.
Right.
And so, that site has been cleaned up the best they can. There's still, that is what's considered a legacy site with the Department of Energy. Once they clean up a site, they have to continue to monitor that site, because it's almost impossible to come in and remove all of the waste.
But the fact is, they were dealing with it in the 1940s, and we're still dealing with it in 2015. So those atomic bombs, which are history, we're still dealing with the aftermath of that 50, 60, 70 years later.
And not only are we dealing with it as far as waste and workers, but if you look at the state of Missouri, the state of Missouri has paid out $185 million in compensation to workers and their family members.
The state of Missouri.
The state of Missouri, $185 million. That's a lot of money. But if you compare that to the state of Colorado, they've paid out $700 million. If you look at the state of Ohio, they have paid out $800 million. The state of Washington's paid out $900 million. It's not a St. Louis problem.
All to workers who worked on the atomic bomb?
Either the atomic bomb or the Cold War. Because, see, after we built the atomic bomb, the Soviet Union, and they also had bombs.
And then we had the Cold War, and we were off and running with the nuclear world.
Yes.
Wow, that is staggering numbers.
There's some staggering numbers. So I want people to look at the film and say, "Oh, look at St. Louis. What a toxic. St. Louis is part of this era, and this is how things were handled back then. And unfortunately, a lot of people got sick and put at risk."
Tony West, our guest. The Safe Side of the Fence, the Tivoli, 1 p.m. It's gonna sell out. if it sells out, and if somebody can't get to this showing and they want to see the movie, how else can they see the movie?
We hope to get into the St. Louis International Film Festival in November and hope to have it shown there.
Okay. So, I mean, that's the life of a movie. But look forward at some point, because at some point it'll end up on iTunes and Netflix and everything else.
We'll try to get on Netflix, too. Everybody who wants to see the film, we're going to try to get it to you. We'll make sure you see it.
Tony West, director of The Safe Side of the Fence. What's the website to find out more? Is there a website?
The St. Louis, I'm sorry, the safesideofthefence.com.
Safesideofthefence.com. Tivoli, 1 p.m. on Sunday. Tickets online, cinemastlouis.org. Tony, great work. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You got it. 9:32 here at Big 550.